aerospace and defense manufacturing,
machines and automation,
additive manufacturing,
smart manufacturing,
global manufacturing economy.
Hello and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. Please remember to like and subscribe to our feed. I'm your host, Steve Plumb, Editor-in-Chief for SME Media, and I'm joined today again by Kip Hanson and Amy Bryson to talk about the August issue of Smart Shop Essentials, which is currently being printed and shipped to shops and homes across the country. So it's always exciting and fulfilling to put another issue to bed and send it out into the marketplace. One of the themes this month is optimizing tool paths, and the cover story addresses good, better, best as it relates to milling applications, which was penned by Ronald West from Kennametal. Kip, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, thanks for that, Steve. Yeah, I reached out to Ronald West, who I've known for many years from Kennametal, and he warns against what the way he phrased it was wasting good cutters on bad interfaces. So, there's always a lot of discussion on which tool holder is best for a given application. And Kennametal is one of the few companies that actually makes hydraulic, shrink fit, and mechanical tool holders, as well as collet holders. And so I asked him which one is best, which one's his favorite. So he kind of gave us a rundown on solid end milling, which means holding end mills. And I was surprised to hear him say that even Kennametal has a good, better, best approach. And then he also emphasized that high efficiency tool paths, which is the focus on this edition of Smart Shop Essentials, that they're just not going to work if you're just using, the traditional side lock holder that a lot of shops continue to use. So I'm not going to give a spoiler here, but I will say that Wes is a big fan of hydraulic holders, primarily for their damping characteristics and, pretty much all-around performance for most jobs. But he also warns that if you're pushing harder in a super alloy of some kind, Inconel or titanium, that you'll need to get some sort of retention system in there, whether it's a Heimer safe lock or one of the competing systems to prevent tool pullout. And, he also talks about the why and the when of mechanical and shrink fit holders, which are the good and the better. And he also made a mention, we didn't even bring it up in the interview, but he talked a little bit about ER collets as well. And that if you're going to use ER collets, that's fine, but make sure they're from a good manufacturer and that you maintain them properly. And then from there, the other article I worked on was More Than Four. I spoke to Jake Rutherford of Kyocera SGS, and he talks about tool geometry and knowing when high efficiency milling strategies are actually the right choice for a job. And by high efficiency milling, I'm lumping in trochoidal tool paths and high feed milling and master camas, dynamic milling, and so on. Those are all great, and he's a big fan of those, but he also mentions that, sometimes the old school roughing methods, where you just stick a corn cob cutter in there and start plowing, those are still appropriate in certain cases, especially if you've got an older, a 50 horsepower geared head machining center. Sometimes those old methods are best. But also, high efficiency milling is essential in a lot of materials. I mentioned Inconel, titanium, hardened steel as well. And that when you're able to engage the full flute length of the cutter, you're better able to distribute wear and increase your feed rates. But also, you got to take it with a grain of salt, and don't blindly trust the toolpath simulations you see in the CAM system. So, his advice there is to, know your cutters, measure the results, and especially don't be afraid to ask for help. He made a plug for Kyocera's training clinics for people that are able to take away a couple days to go and visit with them. But there's other companies that do the same thing as well. Sandvik has one, Kennametal has one, and so on. Yeah, so that's pretty much for my two articles. I think, Amy, you were going to cover the toolpaths piece.
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar to what you were talking about, Kip, and kind of breaking down, the notion of, where automation can help and where, more traditional processes work best, and optimize your toolpaths, which was previously named something else. If you want to know, reach out to Steve Plumb and he can give you the behind the scenes on that. But optimize your toolpaths is a contributed piece from Toolpath Labs' Al Whatmo, and he's a really fascinating guy. And he argues that automation and lights out machining, they just don't start with flashy tech or fancy dashboards. They really start with reliable and, as he says, kind of boring toolpaths. Al says that the toolpath is really where a machining philosophy lives. And he says it's the connective tissue between the machine, the material it cuts, and the mind behind the job. And he says you could have the best tools in the world, but if your toolpath isn't dialed in, the whole process will break down. And as part of his insights in this article, he also shares what he, sees as 4 really common mistakes that shops make. I won't give you all of them. You'll have to check out the article. But one of them is that people tend to ignore the machine's personality, right? So Al says that your CAM system doesn't really know what machine you're running. And most generate toolpaths based on geometry, not actual machine behavior. So things like acceleration curves or tool changer delays can make or break an otherwise optimal program. And he says the fix is fairly simple. Just take some time and watch it run and be aware of its idiosyncrasies. And again, check out the article for the full list of 4 mistakes and their fixes. And also, I know, Steve, you had the opportunity to, I think, talk to Al for a recent podcast on advanced manufacturing now. And he's got a lot of great insights to share just in general.
He's a very interesting guy. As you mentioned, he started off on the shop floor, and then was head of the Fusion program for Autodesk, I believe, for a while, and then got the idea to he joined Toolpath Labs after it was launched, shortly after it was launched, and they really have another product that's coming down the pike soon that I think everybody's going to be interested in. But yeah, and another guest article for this issue was provided by Kevin Lichtenberg from Methods Machine Tools. And in this case, the name of the article really says it all. High speed, high feed, highly effective, which was aptly illustrated by a stock car traversing a racetrack. So anyway, it's not surprising that virtually every aspect of the manufacturing process is being scrutinized to boost efficiency. And Kevin notes that it all starts at the machine level. While this includes, faster tool changes, higher spindle speeds, and rapid traverse rates, a lot can be done with the cutting process, including high speed and feed milling. But it's never quite as easy as it sounds, of course. In fact, success often requires a more holistic approach. And one of Kevin's pro tips is to abide by the manufacturer's guidelines for material usage. And of course, regular maintenance always helps. But a lot of other factors also come into play, such as rigidity, tool length, and geometry. And, tool holding and work holding also are critical, especially when we are talking about high speeds that are involved. To go back to what you were saying about personality, Amy, all of these articles have a lot of great personality, including the people that Kip has talked to in curating them. And speaking of Mr. Personality, Kip, what's in store for the next issue of SSE?
Mr. Personality, is that my new name?
I was just going to ask if that's something you want us to call you, Kip. I didn't know.
I've been called a lot worse, so that's fine.
A lot worse by better people.
I'll take it.
Right. I did have one other pun before we leave, and that goes to the good, better, best, and in this case, I think Wes is best.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, but what's in store for the next issue, other than some more great puns?
Yeah, October is a nice roundup of folks. It's the headline is Metrology for October. I reached out to Dan Skolin at Renishaw. He's going to talk about the importance of machine calibration, and with that, I reached out to one of the applications people at Mazak to talk about the use of probing systems, both for setup purposes as well as in process measurement. And then we've also got a piece there from Zeiss talking about the need for automation on your CMMs, as well as the what I think is the increased use of shop floor CMMs, and how they're kind of the one machine measure everything approach. So it should be another good roundup.
Yeah, probably no great surprise that automation is seeping into every part of manufacturing. All right, well, great. And to learn more about the latest manufacturing trends and hear more podcasts, visit us at advancedmanufacturing.org. And please remember to like and subscribe to our feed wherever podcasts are available.